Oh hey guys, how's it going? So it has been a hot minute since I have done a book review on this channel. I don't even remember the last book review I did. It might have been Frankenstein, I'm not sure, but that was way back in the fall time, and there was good reason for that. My winter reading challenge, Scarlet, the sequel to Gone with the Wind. So I actually read Gone with the Wind for the first time last summer. Here it is, and it only took me a month and a half to read. I mean, look at this bad boy. It is over 1,000 pages, and I am very proud of myself. It's quite a long book, but in a stark contrast, I have Scarlet right here, and it isn't nearly as long as Gone with the Wind. It's only probably, I think, over 800 pages, and it took me 4 months to read. There's a good reason for that. I wasn't really working when I was reading Gone with the Wind, so I had a lot of free time. I've been working now, full time, so I haven't had as much time to read. That's why it took 4 months to read this a bad boy right here. My mom actually gave this to me, and I had no intention of reading this book, the sequel to Gone with the Wind. I heard it wasn't very good, and I really had no interest of reading it, but my mom had it. She knew I loved Gone with the Wind. She knew I read it, so she was like, here, read Scarlet. So she gave me her copy. And I gotta say, okay, first and foremost, this book is pretty much universally panned by critics and fans of Gone with the Wind alike. It was released in 1991 by, what's her name? Alexandra Ripley. And she had the okay to write it from the Margaret Mitchell estate. So it's an authorized sequel. And I gotta say, I didn't hate it. I didn't dislike it as much as I thought I would. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. People are calling this book an abomination. It's absolutely god awful. I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. So I'll give you a brief synopsis of what it's about. So it kind of opens at the funeral of Melanie Wilkes. She died, unfortunately, and it opens at the funeral. And then, unfortunately, Mammy dies, which is very unfortunate. I mean, in the beginning of this book, we have Melanie die, and then Mammy die. Two big players in Gone with the Wind. So, they're dead, and then Scarlet essentially goes to Charleston, where she visits Rhett's family, his mother in particular. So she hangs out there for a while, and then she decides to go to Savannah with her aunts to visit her grandfather, who is celebrating his birthday, from what I remember. So she goes to Savannah, and then when she's in Savannah, she goes to Ireland, where she meets her O'Hara relatives, her Irish cousins and such. And she decides to rebuild this land called the Ballahara land that belonged to her family from way back when, before the English seized the land in Ireland, what have you. Again, this book takes place in the late 1800s. And then she kind of rebuilds that land. She builds a town. She kind of renovates the big house. And she settles there for a few years. And then she has a daughter. I mean, there's so much I could explain when it comes to this story, but that's the main gist of it. There's a lot of traveling in this book. There isn't a lot of Rhett in it, unfortunately. He pops up occasionally throughout the book, but it's more so just about Scarlet and her journey. I think Gone with the Wind took place over a span of 10 years, and I think this book, Scarlet, takes place over a span of 10 years. Like I said, there's lots of traveling. She starts in Atlanta. And then she, like I said, she travels to Charleston, and then Savannah, and then Ireland, and she goes back to Atlanta, and then she travels back to Ireland. So there's that, and I gotta say, my favorite part of this book is probably when she was in Ireland, which takes up about half of the book. I wasn't a real fan of the parts where she was in Savannah and Charleston. They were okay, but I feel like the highlight of this book is when she's in Ireland. And Alexandra Ripley, I feel like she did justice to Margaret Mitchell. there are lots of inconsistencies in terms of Scarlett's personality in this book. I feel like it doesn't really reflect who Scarlett was in the original book, Gone with the Wind. I feel like there's lots of inconsistencies with her personality. I feel like there are a lot of times when I was reading Scarlett and it just didn't seem like Scarlett. It felt off for some reason. But I felt like Alexandra Ripley did a decent job of replicating Margaret Mitchell's writing style. Um, Obviously, you can't compare to Margaret Mitchell. Margaret Mitchell wrote one of the greatest books of all time in American literature, Gone with the Wind. But I feel like Alexandra Ripley did an okay job. I feel like Alexandra Ripley kind of put her own twist into the legacy of Gone with the Wind. And would I read it again? Honestly, I would read it again. Not anytime soon. Maybe like in 10 years I would read it again. I would definitely read Gone with the Wind again. But in terms of Scarlet, I mean, I would read it again. I feel like it was good. Like I said, I don't think it was as bad as people are making it out to be. I feel like that if anybody else wrote a sequel to Gone with the Wind, I think it could have ended a lot worse. And I feel like it could have been a lot worse. So I feel like this is the best product we could have gotten for a sequel to Gone with the Wind that wasn't written by Margaret Mitchell. So yeah, that's my thoughts and opinions on that book. I really hope there is, I stated this in my previous video when I did a review on Gone with the Wind. This was like several months ago. I said in that video that there should be a remake of Gone with the Wind, not necessarily a movie. I feel like there should be like a big budget HBO special of Gone with the Wind, a remake, like an 8-part special, each episode like 1 hour each. I just feel like the movie didn't do the book justice just because there's so much in this book. I mean, look at this book, it's so long. And the movie was like, what, like almost 4 hours? And it was impossible to condense this length of a book into a movie. So that's why I said there should be like a remake of Gone with the Wind. A big budget, HBO, directed by Christopher Nolan. I mean, that would never happen. But you know what I mean, like, just a really big budget extravaganza of Gone with the Wind. And I gotta say, even maybe a sequel to that production as well, like maybe an 8-part series of Scarlet as well. There was a mini-series released way back when of Scarlet, made for TV special. It was like a 4-part series. I really have no interest of watching it. I tried looking it up on YouTube, but there's like a Spanish version of it. Like the subtitles, it's not in English, unfortunately, so I couldn't watch it. If there was an English version, I would maybe watch it, but I don't really have any interest in watching it. Anyway, I'm just rambling now. So that is my review on Scarlet. If you have read this book, what was your opinion on it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Like I said, I don't think it's as bad as people are making it out to be. So give me your thoughts and opinions on it. What was the highlights for you? If you did like it, tell me why. Okay, so that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. Actually, I'm going to give you an update on the next book I'm reading. So I've been reading this, Fahrenheit 451. I've been wanting to read this for the last few months, and then coincidentally, my mom came to visit, and she's like, oh, I have this book you might like. Here you go, Fahrenheit 451. How did she know? I didn't even tell her I wanted to read this book. But it's really good. It came out, 50th anniversary, so it came out 50 years ago. I'm really excited. I'm about 30 pages in, and it's a very interesting book, I gotta say. I'm digging it, though. It's a little, interesting. I don't know how to explain it. It's just very unique, the way it's written, but I'm actually digging it so far. And I have a whole bunch of other books I want to read. I have Gone Girl. I watched the movie. I absolutely love the movie, so I need to read the book right here. Gone Girl. Again, my mom gave this to me. And I was at my mom's place, and I saw she had 2 copies of this book. I had no intention of ever watching Eat, Pray, Love or reading the book. But she had it. I was like, you know what? It was a bestseller. A lot of people read it, and there was a lot of hype surrounding this book when it was released, so I might as well check it out. And then there's this book, a children's book. Again, my mom gave this to me like last year. Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children. I watched the movie, and I actually liked the movie, so I'm actually excited to read the book. There's a whole bunch of other books I want to read. Like, you have no idea. Like, I want to read the Da Vinci Code. I want to read Anne Rice novels, like Interview with a Vampire. like so many books I can't think of right now. So yeah, it's gonna be a busy year for reading books, and hopefully it doesn't take me 4 months to read a book like it did with Scarlett. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoy watching. Tell me what you're reading now. Tell me what I should be reading right now. Any ideas, any mentions, leave a comment. I'm very interested to know. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Instagram. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. And I will see you next time. Was that all I wanted to say? Yes. So goodbye. Take care. Have a happy Easter weekend. Have a happy spring. Have a happy life. Bye, guys.